Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Tonight we're gonna do a little bit of current events. Oh, let me get my microphone. Duh. Get this over here where it belongs. All right. All right. So we're gonna do a little bit of current events. I guess you could call this a little bit of Black history too. And this is gonna be a bit of a thought piece, and it's going to center on the Obamas. Okay. So most of you know who are watching this, you know that Michelle Obama has started a podcast with her brother Craig. But Michelle Obama has been making news for years as the first lady and as the former first lady of the United States. So in this stream, I'm going to attempt to take off and land in an hour. I have a potato baking in the oven there, which is gonna take about an hour. But I'm not gonna disparage her. I'm not gonna demonize her in this stream. People are watching me, and people go dumpster diving into your content. But what I am gonna do is give some commentary and reaction regarding some of the things that she has shared recently. And actually, a lot of people have been giving reaction to Michelle Obama's positions. And so I'm going to unpack that a little bit in the next hour. And then hopefully I will land the plane. I'm going to set it up with the George Fraser Black marriage clip. And also we're gonna start with the median household incomes per race. And again, I'm not going to disparage Michelle, but I'm going to ask the question. Some of the things that she's been saying and the example that she's been setting, has that been helpful? How has that helped the freedmen, the descendants of slaves? Has that helped at all? Or has it made things worse? Is it making things worse? Is it going to contribute to the very thing George Fraser is wary of? Thank you to whoever liked this stream ahead of time. Please let me know who is there in the chat and let me know what you think about this as I go through it. I'm going to play my Curtis Schoon intro, and then I will jump in. Hopefully I can take off and land within an hour. Okay. It's not about having fun. Okay. It's about putting in hard work and having fun sometimes, and the need to have fun all the time relates to a cultural deficiency, and you can't fix cultural deficiencies with political solutions. I was going to say with politics, with political solutions. All right, I will see you on the other side of the intro. What's going on, Tony? So, where did this topic come from? So, I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information.
That we will rush to finish things that are important so we can do things that are not. And I believe it's an immaturity there. People just don't understand that, life isn't about having fun all the time. You have to have fun sometimes, I agree. But as an adult, there's time where you have to just say, okay, listen, I got to get down to work right now. And I don't think enough of us value that time or really understand the fruits of that labor. Somehow we think things are just going to be without that kind of effort. And culturally, there's a deficiency there. That's why I always say that there's no political solution for cultural deficiencies.
So, where did this topic come from? So, I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. There are no political solutions to cultural deficiencies. That was from my discussion with Curtis Schoon. I hope to have him back. I love Curtis because he tells it like it is, and he doesn't, let the chips fall where they may. He believes in working hard, and life is not about having fun all the time. And he swings his big stick, and he doesn't really care where it goes. I have a 9 to 5, so I have to care. I'm also trying to break in as an author, so I have to care as well. So, peace to Tony and Passport OG. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 videos giving reaction to former First Lady Michelle Obama's some of her recent offerings. As I described before playing the intro, Michelle made a lot of news as the First Lady, even before now. I mean, years ago when she was the First Lady, she was a First Lady unlike any of the other First Ladies. I'm going to try to freestyle this intro. Let's take a quick look at the Obama family. This is a very beautiful family. This is going to set the stage for everything. These are just some pictures of the Obamas from Google. I typed this into the search engine and it brought this up. The Obamas, yeah, this was our first Black family in the White House. The Obamas, they are a beautiful family. Barack, Michelle, Malia, and Sasha. And all these pictures here, they show happiness. They show a nice, tightly knit family unit. The majority of these pictures are of the 4 of them. And then, of course, the girls now are grown up. They're leaving their own imprint on social media and the world. But then you have some pictures there of Barack and Michelle when he was in the White House and now afterwards. You could tell by how gray his hair is. Most of his hair is gray now. But they're smiling there and they look happy. But are they? Okay, are they right now? Was Michelle happy then? Was Barack then? Or was this a quote unquote political marriage? Okay, for many people, this family is holy. Okay, they are what's right with the world. They are what's right about the world. In other circles and other conversations, some would say that this was a political marriage. Okay, there are rumors about what President Obama really likes and who he really likes and who he really liked. And then there are questions about and speculations about whether or not President Obama would have gotten elected had he not married Michelle Obama. Okay, many would argue that Michelle Obama was a critical piece in his going to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and I would agree with that. I think if Barry was with what we hear he really likes or what he used to like, I don't think he would have gotten the Black female vote in the numbers that he got. It's been said that the vote for Barry, okay, was also a vote for Michelle. Okay, so yeah, no doubts there that she helped push him over the finish line. And so Michelle Obama is very much one of what made her unique from the other first ladies is that she was kind of her own. She kind of became her own folk hero, her own Paul Bunyan, her own deity. Okay, and you had to look no further than when she released her book, Becoming Michelle Obama. Okay, when that book was released, it was all over social media. Okay, on my Instagram, on my Facebook. I saw legions and legions of acquaintances. Shout out to my dad buying the book, Becoming Michelle Obama, and also going to her book tour. So that was a big deal. She became a really, really big deal once they got to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But was everything as it looked in these pictures, in these images? We know that no relationship is 100% accurate. No relationship is 100% happy. Every relationship has trials and tribulations, especially for a married couple and especially for a couple in the White House. But what was really going on? None of us will ever know. We think we're seeing signals of what was really happening, but no one ever really knows. What was the example that Michelle said? I think I'm going to segue into that. And what was unique about her, and what did we see before and now that was kind of like, why is she doing that? Why is she saying that? Okay. First of all, she did get a lot of there were a lot of disparaging things said about her, such as she's manly. Okay. There were many jokes about calling her Michael Obama. Okay. I never said those things. Okay. I never thought that she was unattractive. I always thought Michelle Obama was attractive. Let me pull the picture back up and let me pronounce my words. I always thought Michelle Obama was attractive. She was in shape. She had nice brown skin, pretty smile, nice brown legs. Okay. I never said the thing about Michael. I never understood that. So she did take her share. She did get her share of smearing when she was the first lady in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I thought the gardening and the health initiatives, I thought those were positive. I thought those added a lot of value. I thought that she added value, but there were also stories. There was also angst over her seeming need to be in the spotlight, to be up on the stage with Barack in ways that previous first ladies had not. And then there was something that really chapped my hide, which was the comment about her being a single mother. Okay. And I remember talking to my mother about this and saying, Mom, you know what? She shouldn't be saying that out loud like that. She shouldn't be disparaging her husband like that and kind of lowering him by saying that. And I remember my mother. I love my mother. Mom, if you're watching this, hey, I remember her saying, what's wrong with her saying that? What's wrong with her saying that out loud? It's just like, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. It's not right. Okay. And a lot of people felt that about them and about her need to kind of, take center stage and say those things about him out loud. Okay. So fast forward. Okay, where are we now? Well, it's been, let's see, the Obamas left in 2016. We're in 2025. So that's 9 years. It's been 9 years since they've been out of the White House. And now we're at a place where one of the methods that President Trump used to get back in the White House was podcasting. Okay, so Joe Rogan, I forget the other ones that he went on. If you guys know them, you can mention it there in the chat for me. But a big one was Joe Rogan. So I think that the Democratic side said, okay, well, we need to get into the podcasting game too. So not long ago, Michelle Obama started her own podcast with her brother Craig. Okay, it was thought that it would flop, but it looks like it might be gaining some steam. But she and her guests, they've said some very controversial things in the last couple of months. Okay, she's had Tracy Ellis Ross on. She just went on with Taraji P. Henson, and now she's kind of making the circuit herself. And she was just on Diary of a CEO. But in any case, I'm gonna ask the question. I'm gonna ask the question: what example is she setting? Okay, since she's left the White House and gotten out on her own, she made some controversial remarks at the Democratic National Convention. Particularly, the ones I remember were about, ask your, demand that your husbands and your brothers and your fathers and your uncles that they do right by you as women. Women are not just here to be baby incubators, and vote differently. Don't be afraid to vote differently than your husbands. So that, I don't know. For me, that sounds kind of like anti-family and breaking up spouses. You guys let me know what you think there in the chat. But she said some interesting things on her podcast. And I want to ask the question, what example is she setting? Because the other thing is, today is the anniversary of the death of Kevin Samuels. I was thinking about this earlier. People have been posting it. Terrain Walker posted it. A bunch of people have posted it. So rest in power to the Godfather. If that offends you, then you don't have to watch my channel. But I was thinking that Michelle, she has cachet. She has a following. She has influence, just like Kevin had, just like Andrew Tate has, just like many of the toxic masculine men that have been demonized and who people are afraid of. She has that kind of following, okay? And she has a lot of influence. And so there are a number of, there are a lot of the women who really blew up her book tour and bought her book. They will follow her example, okay? She's an example, okay? So then the question is, what kind of example is she leaving? And are we all better off for that? Are we all better off for the things that she said and the things that she's saying now? Are we as individuals better off for that? Are we as a community, are we better off for that? Passport OG made a really good video. She made a lot of news around the time of the election because she didn't accompany Barack to Jimmy Carter's funeral. Okay, so that was one thing. Everybody kind of said, whoa, wait a minute. Why is she not there with him? Because if you know presidential politics, that I've always been a fan of presidential history, the president and the first lady are like a pair. Okay, so they go together. So you kind of can't have one without the other. So it looked very odd for the Bushes to be there, okay, for the Clintons to be there. We know what the Clintons have gone through, but it looked odd for Barack to walk out there by himself. It was odd for Barack to be at the inauguration by himself. Between the two, I could see her not showing up at the inauguration, but I don't know that the Obamas had any problem with Jimmy Carter per se. So I kind of felt like she should have showed up there with Barack to Carter's funeral. Passport OG's in the chat. He made a really good video about it. I was going to show it during this chat, during the stream, but I want to show some other things. I'm going to shut up in a minute. But I did share Passport OG's video about that fallout around that time. And this is something Michelle's been talking about recently, is the controversy surrounding her for not going to Jimmy Carter's funeral or to the inauguration. I shared that video with my family, and my family, my aunts and uncles, they're Black boomers, unlike, not the kind like BGS and Black Uru. And I remember my uncle said, you know what, forget that. I'm not listening to that. They gave Michelle a hard time when she was in the White House. Okay. My mother and my aunt, they said it was interesting. Passport OG, your video, they said it was interesting. And I remember I threw it up on Facebook. I don't know why I did that. But one of my buddies who I highly respect, he replied, okay, this is a stretch. Okay, so people kind of didn't put two and two together and see why that was significant that she chose not to accompany Barack to these important events, even though she doesn't like President Trump. Okay, the president and the first lady, they're a pair, they're a package deal, and they're supposed to go places together. That's a lifetime duty. That's a duty. That's that position means something even after you're out of the White House. Okay. And that's something she's kind of, been fighting back on the podcast circuit, is that people were speculating about their marriage and whether or not they were getting divorced, and questioning her for not going. Okay. 3 videos, and then I'm going to land the plane. I was going to show yours, Passport OG, but we're going to start with Funky Academic. Okay. I was looking at this earlier. I won't say where, but I was looking at Funky Academic, and he gave reaction to Michelle. And again, for the people who are looking at this and saying, Dr. Dunbar, you're disparaging Michelle Obama, I'm giving commentary, I'm giving analysis on what's happening now, because this is an important time, because political affiliations are fracturing, people are reassembling on the board, people are questioning things, and one of the things that people are questioning is her and her influence and her relevance, and whether or not she's actually helping or hurting. Let's watch the George Fraser video really, really quickly. Then we'll look at the median household incomes, and then we'll take a look at some of the reaction to Michelle O. Okay. George Fraser. George Fraser stark warning. If you haven't seen this, this has been out for a little while.
% of our brothers are not married. 30% of them will never get married. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full human potential without family at the center of their culture. This only exists. This is an interesting but negative statistic. This phenomenon of the existential crisis of our family only exists among African American Black people. It does not exist on the continent or anywhere else in the diaspora. So there must be something in the water. We must fix this. It is a lot easier said than done because it is impacting our wealth. Quick statistics. For 350 years, household median income was dominated by white people. They were number 1 in this country. They no longer are number 1, they're number 3, and there's a reason for it. So who has the highest household median wealth in America? It's East Indians, $104,000 a year. What's the marriage rate in the East Indian culture? 94%, 2 are working. Who's number 2? Chinese Asians. Household median income, $110,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. Number 3 are white people. Household median income, $88,000 a year. What's the marriage rate? Almost 50%. Down significantly. Number 4 are Hispanics. Household median income, $61,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. We are at the bottom. Household median income, $55,000 a year. Marriage rate, 34%. And projected based on facts and statistics that if we do not fix this, because white folks ain't fixing this, our marriage rate will be in the low teens in the next 20 years. This is an enormous challenge. That's a whole talk by itself on how do we fix it. It can be fixed, but we have to, first of all, understand that this is a problem. No one's talking about this problem. This is a huge problem. It's the number 1 problem in our culture. So we must fix it.
Oh. Okay, so again, so George Fraser, he's a Black wealth guy, he's a Black love guy, so he's kind of in the same boat with Boyce. Boyce is very outspoken about the fact that the Obama administration wanted to work with him, but he wasn't willing to be a puppet. But the question, the things that he just talked about with her example and her rhetoric, is Michelle helping that thing that George Fraser just talked about? Is this helping because she has influence and a lot of ladies are following her example? Household median income and wealth. And we're going to get to Funky Academic. Okay, you guys have seen this before. And he just talked about different races. He said Asians were at the top. You have to break that out you have to break that out to split off Chinese people and Indians. Okay, we know that marriage has a lot to do with that. Asians are at the top. It's not white people. This is from 2023. The median household income for Asians was $81,020. For white non-Hispanics, it was $69,070. For Black people, it was $51,960. And for Hispanics of any race, it was $46,880. Okay, what's the example that we're seeing? What example are we looking up to? Okay. All right. Let's go to Funky Academic. Okay. I think those of you in the chat, you know who this gentleman is, but for those of you who don't know, this is a smart brother who gives commentary on pretty much everything. But he had some analysis for Michelle, since Michelle is out making the rounds now. I might play this entire thing. I might cut it short. You guys keep letting me know what you think there in the chat. Peace, Salchi. Peace, T Riddler. T Riddler, no food fights in my chat. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you are not subscribed. Fair use, fair use. This is Funky Academic. I'm going to have to throw him a tip for this offering.
America, my name is osei-frimpong, and I'll tell you right now, the idea that Kamala Harris was both qualified and had the right disposition to be president of the United States in a way that moves us forward, legitimately moves us forward, is an instance of us just getting high on our own supply. She was never that person. But we've told ourselves that you don't have to be particularly serious or particularly contentful. And we've seen presidents like Donald Trump, who's not particularly serious or particularly contentful. And, you know, arguably Joe Biden, too, go far. So we just assume that that's okay, or it's something that we should have pretended is an okay way to be. But it was never an okay way to be. And I think a lot of people are going to find out that the stories we told ourselves about our ways of being were never actually appropriate, even if they seem to be profitable and lucrative in the short term. And I think the idea that, for example, Michelle Obama isn't incredibly obnoxious is one of those deals. The idea that Oprah has been good for the Black community in the last 30 years is one of those just stories we tell ourselves, which is demonstrably false and empirically dicey. And these are not people we should look up to.
Okay, so he's coming out of the bat. He's coming out of the gate, swinging his bat at Kamala, Joe, Michelle, and Oprah. Okay. All right. Fair use, fair use.
These are not people who got it right. Do not confuse Michelle Obama with, you know, Ella Baker or Ida B. Wells. Like, do not confuse one for the other. They are not the same. And we're finding out about Michelle Obama because now that liberals aren't in power, Michelle Obama, when she talks, people don't just give her the benefit of the doubt that it's both ethically appropriate and legitimate. So, for example, when she starts complaining about her life as first lady and how hard it was and how much money she had to spend on food being in the White House and how somehow she has things to complain about, yet she ended that 8-year stint like multimillionaires and bought a $15 million mansion in the Hamptons.
So this thing about complaining about how hard it was to be in the White House, that's not going over well with people, okay, for the reasons he just described. And I described her book deal and her tour, and the Obamas, they are rolling in dough right now, okay? So this whole thing about her complaining about being in the White House and how hard it was, a lot of people are not buying that. Fair use, fair use.
To go along with whatever other ventures, including making sure that her kids got whatever jobs and in whatever colleges and whatever they wanted. So like, let's stop pretending that Michelle Obama had it hard. We have to be sympathetic to her if we're under the illusion that being sympathetic to her matters. But like, now that liberals aren't in power, let's stop pretending that Michelle Obama had it hard. Let's stop pretending that she's not incredibly lucky. Let's stop pretending that just because she made it, we've made it. That was a speech she gave a few years ago.
So that was a major appeal of the Obama presidency. There was a feeling that, you know, we're in the White House now. We're in the White House. We've made it. We've made it. But did we make it? That was a huge part of their aura.
The idea that just because she's made it and her family's made it, that we've made it. That's never been the case. Michelle Obama's fine, but you remember she started out before she was in office as a professional Negro whisperer for the University of Chicago hospitals. They call it external affairs or vice president of community engagement or external affairs, but pretty much University of Chicago is in the middle of a black neighborhood. And it's got a lot of resources that they have to figure out a way to curate which black people have access to. And her job was to keep the black people who often were shot from going to the trauma center that didn't exist at the University of Chicago hospital. Instead, we were shipping those black people downtown to Cook County Hospital. And her job was to make that okay and say that although we have a multi-billion-dollar institution here, we're going to close it to the community in these very vulnerable moments, and we're going to make you go all the way down to the county hospital, although we'll be in this black neighborhood. I spent 10 years on and off in Hyde Park, actually about a block and a half away from the Obama's mansion. I did not have a mansion. I was in a co-op, but
so he gets into the background of her and what she was actually doing before her and Barack got married. I'm going to let this one go just a little bit longer because there are two more I want to get to, and then I want to land the plane at a certain time. So fair use. He says some pretty poignant things, some pretty shocking things in this 18-minute video. But I'll just let this go a little bit longer. Passport OG says, complaining about the White House is crazy work. Now I understand maybe she wasn't used to being under the microscope like that. And there were some disparaging things said about her, like calling her a man and calling her Michael. But yeah, complaining about being there, there are a lot of people who would have wanted to have been in the White House. Fair use.
But Michelle Obama's job was the Negro whisperer. So her job was to do steam control and keep the Negroes at bay who wanted to use the University of Chicago's medical center's resources, because the University of Chicago is surrounded by black people on 3 out of 4 sides, 3.5 out of 4 sides, honestly. So the other side's Lake Michigan. So you have to understand that she got paid $200,000 a year to do that. So she's always been ethically dicey. Now, people have to have jobs. That's fine. Someone's got to be a Negro whisperer. People have to have jobs. But let's stop holding these people up as role models, because let's be honest, you do not want to raise kids with Michelle Obama. That would be a tiresome business, because when she's right, it's great. But when she's wrong, are you really going to be able to convince her that she's right? And then when she's wrong and you have to, some way you've kind of rescued whatever project she was going to screw up, she's going to be resentful of having to do it your way, even though you were right. Right. So let's not confuse Michelle Obama with someone like Ketanji Brown or like anybody else. There's a certain class of professional bourgeois black people who we need to stop lionizing.
So there he's drawing the distinction between social class and the political class. and he's arguing we need to stop deifying these people because they're not worth deifying. Okay, please smash that like button. Some more folks have come in. Let me know what you think. Tony said, Salty, I don't know what you're laughing at here. But Tony says the boule. That's right. The Negro Whisperers. Curtis Goon called them the Negro Wranglers. Okay, so that's an actual thing.
Because they have not been good for the struggle, and they were never about it. And worse, they confuse people about it. So if you were raising your daughter to look up to Michelle Obama, in 15 years, your daughter is going to be obnoxious, and you're going to wonder what happened. What?
So there, right there, that's the other side of how Michelle is perceived. Okay, you have the it's the first lady. She was the first Black lady, but he's describing her in a different way.
What happened? And I make a distinction between Michelle Obama and someone I like someone like Serena Williams. I don't have a problem with Serena Williams. I don't have a problem with Ketanji Jackson Brown. The Supreme Court Justice. I don't have a problem. Some people say, "Oh, you just hate Black women." No, I have a problem with Ketanji Brown Jackson. I don't have a problem with Ketanji Brown Jackson. I think she seems great. She seems like just a great, smart lady. Even if I don't agree with all of her politics or her jurisprudence, she gets to have opinions that are legitimate, and we're happy that she's a jurist. Don't have a problem with my daughters looking up to her. I do have a problem with my daughters looking up to Michelle Obama.
So Sal, do you remember them calling her Michael? Those Transformer jokes about Michelle? Yeah, those were real. Okay, would you guys want your daughters looking up to Michelle Obama? Because that's the case he's making right now. Is he doesn't want his daughters looking up to her.
Who is not a whole clown, but she's like 3/4 of a clown. And I consider her on the same continuum as an Ebony K. Williams. Right? Just problematic in a deep way, not necessarily misandrist, but not community focused.
So he considers her on the same continuum as Ebony K. Williams, not misandrist, but also not community focused. So, not in line with what George Fraser was talking about, not in line with reversing that problem.
And Oprah and all of these people are in positions as community leaders without actually having the appropriate community focus, and I take that as a problem. I take that as a problem. So I don't have and I don't have a problem with like a Serena Williams. I think Serena Williams is fine. So Serena Williams over here, Ebony K. Williams, and Michelle Obama, and maybe Tracy Ellis Ross, who needs to date younger men, and all of this nonsense. All of this nonsense that's not particularly good for Black people, but yet it's supposed to represent Black women. No. If you raised your daughter looking up to Michelle Obama, you cannot be surprised when your daughter is both a snob, a low-key elitist, a little bit incompetent, and kind of awful to deal with.
A little bit incompetent and awful to deal with. Okay, how often do we hear that depiction of Michelle? Okay.
Because that's what you raised her as. Same thing. That's the danger you do when you raise her as even looking up to Kamala Harris. It's that same sort of vacuousness that we need to stop pretending is okay.
Okay, so he refers to Kamala. Okay, he refers to Kamala as vacuous in this stream. I'm gonna let this go a little bit further. I know I said that, but vacuous.
There are Black women with content, with something to say. Now, you don't find them with news, because if you're Black and you have actual content to say, it might be a problem for different power structures. But there are other people to look up to, and it's actually might be good for America with liberals out of power that Michelle Obama is finding her voice, because now not only do we have the space, we have the clarity of mind. This ain't it, man. She's on some mess that is that has been problematic to not just Black people but also America. Now,
All right, I saw my antenna thing. Now, there's one comment here he made about Barack and that Michelle almost didn't marry him. I'm trying to get to that point. Fair use, fair use.
Liked the healthy food in schools. That's fine. The just move. That's fine. But I think that's good. So she isn't all like bad necessarily, but she has been problematic. And if you don't know, it's because a lot of people don't know, she almost divorced Barack for losing to Bobby Rush in 2000.
Okay, here we go. So he said she almost divorced Barack for losing to Bobby Rush in 2000. I'm going to stop it after this.
She had papers drawn up. She did everything right growing up. She went to fancy schools and she got good grades and she got a fancy job out of Harvard. She was not trying to get married to some loser. And so when Barack Obama lost to Bobby Rush in 2000, she had papers drawn up. Like, those are just facts. That just happened. And you know what? And honestly, the same thing kind of happened with Raphael Warnock. He filed to run against. He filed to run against the Deal or Herschel Walker, and his wife left him. So,
okay, I think I'm going to stop that one there. You guys can look him up. This one is not below in the description box. But I never knew that. I never knew that she threatened to. She was close to divorcing Barack after he lost to Bobby Rush. But history is selectively told. So shout out to Funky Epic. Slow down. Shout out to Funky Academic Arami Osei-frimpong. Okay, he does a good show and he makes content pretty regularly. I'm gonna throw something in his tip jar since I did use his content there. So we're gonna go take a quick trip over to the conservative side. Okay, the Megyn Kelly sphere. Okay, that might surprise some of you guys, but she had a talk with Tucker. Okay, so I'm an independent. I'm not a conservative, but I think this is interesting because it shows how Michelle is being viewed now within the ADOS, Freedman, Black community, whatever you call it, and how she's being viewed outside. And Megyn Kelly's been feasting on Michelle over the last couple of weeks since she started the podcast. This is a conversation with Tucker Carlson. I'm gonna skip some thunder outside. I'm gonna skip to the portion where Tucker talks about how Michelle talks about Barack, because I think that's what hit a lot of us, was how she talks about Barack and whether or not she's happy in her marriage. I think some folks don't like Tucker and Kelly because I saw my numbers just drop a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to skip to 6 minutes here. Okay, guys, just humor me. Some of you guys may detest Megyn Kelly. Some of you guys may detest Tucker Carlson. But I wanted to show how multiple people are looking at what's happening right now with Michelle and her podcast and the Obamas in general. Fair use, fair use. Shout out to Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. At the end of the day, money makes the world go round. Shout out to Alonzo. So at the beginning of this, Megyn talked about Michelle's unhappiness with being the first lady and how difficult it was. But Tucker is going to say some words about, you shouldn't blow your spouse up like this in front of everybody. it's muted. Hold on.
Class of which she's a charter member, like there's no time to focus on this one person in your own home, or maybe even your own children. Like they're all about, I want to deal with Netflix and I want a Kennedy Center Honors Award and me. And they sort of miss the point, which is in a normal life, your marriage is the core of everything. A happy marriage produces happy people and happy children. And I just don't think she spent a lot of time on that. I mean, she really dislikes her husband. Super obvious. I'm not just saying that to be catty. I think I'm trying to feel compassion for her, but her hostility toward the guy is like unbelievable. And it's been
everything
obvious
she says is negative
about him. For
how
sure,
long have we known each other?
2007.
I can't even think of one negative comment you've ever made about Susie. I almost never say negative
I like
things about
my
Doug.
wife.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're perfect. It's just like when I think about him, I don't immediately go to whatever's negative. I go to what's positive and what I love about him. And there's a ton.
Well, actually,
and I've seen
last
you do
time
that
I
with your
saw
wife
you,
too.
you said you were off camera telling me how great Doug is. I mean, it's just a fact. I remember it really vividly. In fact, I told my wife about it.
So yeah, when you're in a relationship or married, ideally the best case scenario is you're telling people positive things about your partner. And this is something that's really, really stood out to everybody about the Obamas. Okay.
No, those are the markers of actual success. Is your marriage happy? Are your children thriving? Are your relationships solid? Like the people around you in your orbit. And you feel like in her case, boy, the answer is no, but it's not just her. I mean, she's like a freak show and it's easy to make fun of her and I enjoy it. But I do think it's a whole class of people who are afflicted with the same kind of restlessness and rage and emptiness. And they're the ones wrecking our society. It's not the people at the bottom, it's the people at the top.
So now he makes the case that it's the elites, the ones we're all following, our leaders who are wrecking society, which is a very interesting take. Passport OG says, Tucker Carlson's second act has been a pleasant surprise. He is much better away from Fox. Thank you for that comment, Passport OG. Okay, Tucker, you know what? Everybody with a platform, whether it's Michelle or Joe Rogan or Kevin Samuels or Boyce, everybody has detractors. Okay, no one's ever gonna be 100% happy with you. But I think what you want to do in life is try to chew the meat and spit out the bone. Okay, chew the meat and spit out the bone. All right.
And they have gone way off the rails. And she's like a perfect example of it, in my opinion.
Tariff wars, stubborn inflation. No wonder gold has been routinely hitting.
Okay, so for the first part of that, guys, can I tell you a secret? I think Megan's attractive too. She's married, but I think Megan is an attractive woman. I might get in trouble for that, but that's just me. But she spent the first part of her video, I'm waiting for somebody to laugh there. For the first part of her video, she talked about Michelle complaining about being in the White House. Let's have any of you, first of all, the thumbnail. Does anybody know where that quote on the thumbnail comes from? What does it say here? I'm on PowerPoint. I might give a prize. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. Does anybody know where that quote comes from? The lady, Tony. See, I was gonna do a giveaway. Maybe I still will. But yeah, that's right. Tony, you know your Shakespeare. Okay. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. That comes from Shakespeare. Okay. And that that I first heard that line from the friend on Facebook who said Passport OG's video about Michelle not accompanying Barack to the events. My friend who said that was a reach. Okay. I heard it from him, but that's a Shakespeare quote. Yeah. T. Riddler, but hey, what can I say? I do think Megan is attractive. you're definitely going to get in trouble for that, Doc. They're going to call you a hashtag white woman lover. You know what? That's been assumed about me before based upon the way that I talk and comport myself. Shout out to Black Uru. All right. So this last one, I don't have any of you guys ever heard of April Chapman? April Chapman. Let me type this in. Have any of you see Passport OG? Have any of you heard of April Chapman? Okay, this is another content creator. She's melanated like us, or those of us who are melanated. But what's interesting is she gave what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank. She gave she didn't give Michelle high marks. Passport OG, I'm being diplomatic. Remember that? Remember when you clipped off our discussion and you put in your video, you said Dr. Dunbar is very diplomatic. I'm being diplomatic. She didn't have good things to say about Michelle, and I thought it would be interesting to show this because she's another Black woman. Okay, she's a little more spiritual, but she gave some analysis of Michelle's words, and I thought this is a longer video. I'm not going to show the entire thing. I'm just going to show the last 7 minutes. We're going to walk through the last 7 minutes because the clock is ticking here on my end, and I think this link is below in the description box. What April says in the last 7 minutes basically captures her thoughts for the entire 37-minute video. And she does look at clips of Michelle in the beginning. Okay, everybody, please smash that like button if you're not subscribed. Please consider subscribing. I think I'm 7 away from 2,100. So that would be very, very helpful if I could get to 2,100. If anyone wants to make a donation, the super chat is live, and my Cash App and PayPal are here. You don't have to, but that's always helpful. Abdul Gaines is here. Abdul Gaines has been one of the most staunch critics of Michelle. Abdul Gaines says Michelle Obama is okay. So everybody, disclaimer. The views of the chat do not reflect the views of the host. So I can't take responsibility for what the chat says. All right. Abdul Gaines says Michelle Obama is the biggest embarrassment in First Lady history. The first black lady and the First Lady to dump on her husband. Unfortunately, it's standard cultural procedure for B-dubs. All right. The views of the chat do not reflect the views of the host. All right, this is April Chapman. And I have not shown any footage of Michelle during this stream. I mean, she's everywhere, so why should I show her? I'm just showing reaction to her. Let's see. This video is entitled Bye-bye, Megan. Bye, Megan. I'll play her little intro here in case you guys are unfamiliar with her, but I'm going to skip to the end. I might show a clip of Michelle giving her doctrine. So that's April right there.
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Today, I want to respond to the recent interview clips that have gone viral from Michelle Obama's podcast. Yes, this is the podcast that we all thought was going to be an abject failure. However, the more that this woman talks, the more I'm actually convinced that we may have been wrong.
Passport OG, thank you for the Japanese yen. It's yen, right? Y-E-N. The yuan is in China and the yen is in Japan. Domo. Fair use, fair use.
You guys, Michelle Obama, she is the new face of modern feminism. And I am afraid that her influence is way more broad reaching than we thought. So in this particular podcast, the one that I'm going to review today, this is the one where Michelle was joined by Taraji P. Henson. And if you know anything about Taraji, I'm not going to lie. She woke as all get out and a crazy leftist. However, she is the likable girl next door, sister girl, Black female that so many Black American women admire. And so in this episode, I wanted to review it because one, her sitting down with Taraji, it kind of humanizes her, makes her seem a little bit more down to earth, even though the both of them are Hollywood elite types. You know, they both have a lot of money, even though Taraji was just whining and crying about how hard it is, you know, to make the money that she makes because of the taxes and how she's just not seen and given the roles that she believes she deserves in Hollywood. But anyway, you kind of get what you negotiate. But this is not a lesson in economics and personal finance. What I want
for economics and personal finance, we have Alonzo Hall, the all-star advisor. Shout out to Alonzo. Fair use, fair use.
I want to review this episode where Michelle explains why she skipped President Trump's inauguration, and not just the inauguration, but the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter. And in this episode, she provides us with answers and an explanation and a little bit of insight as to what was the driving factor behind those choices. Now, before you clutch your pearls or start drafting your angry DMs, which you'll probably do anyway, hear me out. I will say I'm not 100% here to demonize Michelle. Well, actually, I'm lying. Let me stop. Actually, I am.
Okay, so the views of these clips we're watching, they don't necessarily reflect the views of the host. She says she's gonna kind of take Michelle out to the woodshed. I want to show one clip of Michelle because I've been talking about Michelle, and we should see one clip of her. She should make an appearance on the stream since we're talking about her. She's like the featured topic.
I am. And the reason why I am is because Michelle has long been exalted in the Black community as this change agent, a trailblazer, and this role model. So many young Black women and even white women have looked up to her. And since this is the case, I have to use her as an example in order to diagnose the cultural undercurrent that her words reveal. We actually have to examine her words as they have been publicly spoken and then discuss the broader implications of what she said. So
the broader implications, that gets back to the question that I asked at the beginning. The thing George Fraser was concerned about, Michelle's words and her example, do they help that or do they hurt that? A Black community that's going away, or marriage rate that's going in the toilet, do her words help or do they hurt? Fair use, fair use.
What I want to do is I want to share my screen and play the first clip. Take a look, take a listen at this.
You know, I like you, I have believed in therapy my whole life, you know, done couples therapy with my husband. Both my girls they believe in therapy. This generation, thankfully, I think our children are way more open to it. They understand the importance of self-help and all of that. I also sort of realized that, you know, even Michelle Obama, I am still trying to tell myself that I am doing enough, right? Because there's always that feeling. I think we practice that striving because in order to be successful, I always felt like I had to be smarter, faster, work harder because somebody was going to doubt me. Somebody was always already telling me why I couldn't do something before they knew me or I even tried. So,
Okay, I want to go ahead and engage with this part just a
Okay, you know what? I'm going to let April rock for this part. Then I'm going to jump to the end.
little bit because I thought it was fascinating to hear a woman who is married to one of the former presidents of these United States, Barack Obama, who had checked so many revolutionary boxes, such as being the first Black or pseudo Black or whatever president of the United States. But she's the first female first lady who is what we would call a foundational Black American. And so to hear her say, you know, we've been in therapy and I'm so thankful that we're in this generation that believes in therapy, you know, I get it. The weight of being the first lady was probably or is probably more than the average person can fathom, wrap their minds around, or walk in those shoes. But when she starts talking about the therapy to where, you know, I kept asking myself, am I doing enough? And striving to be the best, because if I didn't, then, you know, people would doubt me. I'm like, okay.
So this part right here is really, really important. This is a key point she's about to hit. Christopher the Conqueror says, I'm just coming across this channel, but I appreciate this breakdown. I'll be subscribing. I appreciate that, Chris. Yeah, I do a lot of thought pieces here. I do have a day job, and this content is forward facing, so I kind of got to watch my rear end a little bit here. So, and people will dumpster dive your content to see what you've been talking about. So I appreciate you saying that. This is a really, really important point here. Fair use, fair use.
You are college educated. You have a law degree. If I believe she's Ivy League. I don't understand who in the ether or in the world is out here setting this other standard for you to meet because you, in their estimation, don't seem to measure up. And why did you in turn internalize these nameless, faceless voices out there that you're projecting onto yourself that claim that you're not good enough, so you have to keep striving to do more? This is made up. This is made up. And the reason why I say it's made up is because for her to have been a former first lady, we have so many other former first ladies that all they're known for is being the first lady of the United States. And for them, that was good enough. That was the pinnacle of you've achieved it, sis. You won. You're married to the commander-in-chief of the free world. But for Michelle as a Black female, that wasn't enough.
So you guys remember at the beginning when I said she's a Paul Bunyan? Okay, I'm not doing the whole Transformer thing there, but she's a Paul Bunyan-like character. She's got her own following. She kind of turned herself into her own brand. The optics are that being the first lady was not good enough. Being Barack's wife was not good enough. Being Sasha and Malia's mother was not enough. She had to be something else, something more. And I think that trickles down into the everyday person. Okay, there and think about the Democratic National Convention when she said, okay, well, women are more than baby incubators. Women are more than mothers. We're more. Does that help or does that hurt the thing that George Fraser talked about in the beginning? What's wrong with just being a mother, being a wife, raising a family? What's wrong with that?
Why? Because for some reason, living in quote unquote, and I'm using this not in a derogatory sense, because I would so 100% live in the shadows of the commander-in-chief of the free world. Like the most powerful man on the planet, physically speaking, you're his woman. You share a bed with this man. Y'all have pillow talk. Like you are his woman. What else do you believe you need to achieve unless you are saying this in an effort to devalue what it actually means to be someone's wife and to be someone's mother, and particularly to be President Obama's wife and the first lady of the most powerful nation in the free world? And so I just kind of wanted to engage with that a little bit, because I thought it was so strange to hear someone of her caliber bemoan and claim that she felt that she wasn't doing enough. And I'm like, by what standard? Because I don't know anyone in Black America that was trying to hold her to some other standard to achieve something else that she has not already achieved. I don't see where that actually happened.
All right. So yeah, is that being the first lady, was that enough? If not, why? Because that's the other thing, is that there are suspicions that she resented being second fiddle, resented not being the big ticket or being the big name on the marquee. There are theories that she resented that, and now she's trying to recapture some glory for herself. So, okay. Another question is, well, we know that Barack probably wouldn't have been elected president if he hadn't married her. So another conversation is, was this a political marriage or not, or is this a fairy tale? I believe that this was a political marriage myself. Now they might love each other, but I think it was calculated, as most for the political class it is. But also the question is, would we know who she is if it weren't for him? Would we even care who she is if it wasn't for him? These are all conversations that are surrounding the Obamas. Okay, Abdul Gaines is dropping fire in the chat, and he says, okay. Once again, everybody, the views of the chat don't reflect the views of the host. He says, if Michelle wanted more, why didn't she go out and do more? Hillary went on to become the U.S. Senator for New York and Secretary of State, and didn't have to dump on a philandering hubby to do so. All right, I'm going to skip ahead to April's final analysis of this. This link is below in the description box if you guys want to go watch the entire thing or sub her channel. But I'm going to skip ahead to 27 minutes. Then I'm going to wrap the stream up because I smell something in the oven. It takes about an hour for a potato to bake. So right here is when she gives her final analysis of it. And she goes in. So I'll start it about here. I might drop for a second to go check the oven, but this will be the final piece of this stream. Fair use.
By her not attending the funeral, what she needed to learn and understand, and at 60 years old, you think she would know, is that attending that funeral or the inauguration had nothing to do with how you feel. You too old to be worried about, well, I just didn't feel like it. Yeah, there are a lot of things that I don't feel like doing. But one, the funeral was about honoring someone's life. And as the former first lady, it was your duty to be there. And then attending the inauguration, whether you voted for the winner or not, it was about honoring the office. Her absence in both cases, it wasn't just silence. It was a statement where this modern feministic, selfish, burn it all down mindset forces women to choose themselves at the expense of everyone else. And they don't even care how it impacts their legacy, how it might be impacting their husband. She has no problem emasculating him. This was embarrassing to hear this woman speak like this. This is not some profound act of courage. This is elite level emotional insulation, selfishness. I can't even call it ideological tribalism. This is feminism on steroids.
Okay, how often Okay, do we hear this analysis of Michelle and that progressive liberal thing? Okay, we almost never hear this this type of analysis and this type of discussion. So I thought this was powerful, and I thought it was worth showing here to just show how, we're at a point now. The internet has democratized communication, and this type of messaging would not have gotten out in a large way 20 to 30 years ago. And this is important to understand, not just because we're not a monolith, but it just gives a different spin on these people that we once held up so high, and we held up like deities. Not everybody enjoys their contribution. Not everybody sees their contribution as valuable. Some people see it as harmful. And then there are people who, I mentioned my mother at the beginning of this stream. I talked to her. I tried to talk to her. Well, I mentioned feminism. Nobody really knows what that is or what that's doing. And nobody really understands. There are a lot of people who don't understand the role that's playing in the arguable atomization and unraveling of our society, particularly the Black community, who usually gets it the worst of all.
This is feminism on steroids. Here's something else that I wanted to note about this whole Michelle Obama situation. And this is the part that I felt was the worst. We finally get a pseudo Black president. Not that we needed that, but because we got it, it was just like, yay, we could check the box. Out of all of the first ladies that have ever existed, why did we have to be the one, the Black one, that was willing to embarrass her husband, to defy tradition, decorum, and just choose herself above all else, solidifying the stereotype that is known about Black women, that, they're selfish, self-serving, they're gonna do what they want to do, and you can't tell them nothing. They're unsubmissive, they're uncooperative, because at the end of the day, if she don't want to do it, she don't want to do it. And to me, she didn't care how this would look to the watching world, because she defaulted to that factory setting of Black chick from the South Side of Chicago that forgets the fact that she has risen to a level that so many of us could have dreamed of. She just defaulted to what was already in her in the first place, that she's not about that life. She didn't have it in her to really be a first lady that would go down in antiquity. She's not a Jackie O. She'll never be a Jackie O.
So that comment right there, right now, I'm listening to this. This is powerful because it's another Black woman saying it. So you can't look at me and say, okay, well, you're engaging in misogyny. This is another sister saying this. But Jackie O. So Jackie O's legacy, that's Jacqueline Kennedy. For you Gen X, for you Gen Zs and Gen Alphas out there who don't know, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy married Aristotle Onassis after John F. Kennedy got assassinated. I've become fascinated with that assassination, by the way. But there were lots of rumors of JFK's philandering and JFK's dibbling and dabbling outside of his marriage. But Jackie Kennedy maintained the image of Camelot. She didn't embarrass him. She didn't smear him. Much the same way Hillary Clinton didn't smear Bill Clinton when he was doing what he was doing. So that's why she's making the distinction here between Jacqueline Kennedy, Jacqueline Onassis, and Michelle Obama. Jackie Kennedy was probably within her right to out JFK, but she didn't do that. So you have a contrasting thing here between how two first ladies represented their husbands publicly and how they discussed their husbands publicly. We're almost done. Fair use.
And she'll never be a Nancy Reagan. She ain't got it in her to be a Nancy Reagan. She is Michelle LaVaughn, whatever her middle name is, from the South Side of Chicago, who just so happened to marry someone who became the first biracial Black person as the president of the United States.
I like that too, because not everybody agrees that Barack is Black. Some think he's biracial. Some think that he's Black. Some think that he's, yeah, part Black, part Jewish. But you notice she just invoked Nancy Reagan there as well. Nancy Reagan took care of Ronald Reagan even after he developed Alzheimer's. She adored her husband. She was there for her husband down to the end. All right, a few more minutes.
But she's just like everybody else. There's nothing different about her to set her apart. We cannot hold her up as some shining example of poise and grace and model womanhood to be respected. The most disheartening thing was that she had no problem sitting down on a public platform where she knows the world is watching and explain that the reason why she did not show up to these two events was simply because she was doing what she felt was best for her. And she chose not to show up because in that moment, she wanted to show up for herself and forget the rest of y'all. Because at the end of the day, I am only known as the First Lady of the United States. And now I want to carve out a piece of notoriety for myself, separate and distinct from my husband. And even if it means that the little piece of notoriety that I carve out for myself is selfishness and lack of duty, honor, respect, is just completely disrespectful and emasculating and embarrassing to my husband, it doesn't matter. It was something that I chose for me. And since I chose me above all else, it must be right, it must be good, it must be applauded, and it must be celebrated.
Okay, I think that's a mic drop. Should I stop this here? Let's see how much time left. About 6 more minutes. You know what? We'll do 2 more minutes of April, and then we'll wrap up. Fair use.
And it said to me, like, if I was a man, like out here in the open market, I'd be like, dang, like I can't even win the White House and get loyalty from my woman, because that's something out her, and to make her feel that she has arrived and that she is successful, and that just being by my side and being the mother of my children, even that ain't gonna cut it. No matter how much money I earn, it doesn't matter how many heads of state I sit down with, how many wars I declare, or how many peace treaties I broker. She's always going to be trying to compete with me. And if she has to choose between me and the family or herself and her country, oh, she's going to choose herself hands down every day and twice on Sunday, and then go on a public podcast and tell the world about it.
Okay, so for those who are clutching their pearls and who are surprised to hear this, I mean, these are all conversations that were being had during the Obama administration, okay, and then most recently for Jimmy Carter's funeral, for the Trump inauguration. I mean, and if that would be the one I would fault her for the least, the Trump inauguration. But all the talk about being a single mother and just disparaging Barack, and yeah, and then this last point April made about competing, that's something, especially amongst professional, the Ray Alexander crowd. Shout out to Ray Alexander, who wants to see professionals get with professionals. That's a dynamic as well. Okay, competing with your significant other, needing to feel up to a certain point, up to a certain level, not feeling good enough, and needing to outshine the other. Fair use.
and in front of her little soy back brother and a cat lady B-list actress. That's what I walked away as the summary of all things from this. And that's what it embarrassed me to no end, because I said, we are confused and we wonder why so many young girls who have no concept of what it means to be in a one flesh union with someone else and to sacrifice and to be a wife and a mother for the sake of something bigger than you, for the sake of everybody else. They don't have a concept of that because they'll never see it. And they definitely are not going to see it in the former first lady, the former first Black first lady of the United States. They ain't gonna see it there. You ain't gonna see it nowhere. They don't make women like that anymore. And unfortunately, young girls, this selfishness and choosing me and protecting my peace and all of this, it is modern feminism on steroids.
So that part, I really, really appreciated April going into that part, because again, that goes back to the question, what example is being left? What example is Michelle setting with what, what example is being set? All right, is that helping the problem George Fraser talked about, or is that further exacerbating the problem?
And she, my friend, is the face of it. And this is not good for the culture. It is definitely horrible for the Black community. And if you have young girls, you need to explain to them why Michelle Obama is not a role model to be looked up to. Because at the end of the day, you can't trust her as far as you can throw her, because she ain't loyal, and she's selfish, and she's a feminist. And so there's nothing good that's going to come out of the combination of any of those things. Black women are going to listen to her words, hold on to her words as gospel. And then they are going to start structuring and patterning their lives in the same way by saying, well, if I don't want to, then therefore I will not. And they're going to find themselves, this is not going to lead to any sort of happiness or a well-adjusted life. You are literally doubling down on selfishness and prioritizing yourself at the expense of your nation, your community, your children, your marriage, and your family legacy. And this is just not messaging that the Black community needs right now. I started out this video by talking about how influential Michelle Obama is, and how her doing this show is started out slow and really wasn't nobody checking for her like that. But when you start speaking this, yes, girl, choose you, forget that man, you got to do what's best for you, that queen theology, queen with the K, that resonates with so many women today, because they are selfish and they will always choose themselves at the expense of the children and their husbands and their whole entire families, because it is all about them. This said to me, this sent a message to Black men.
Okay, this is the ending. This is the ending. All right.
That no matter how hard you strive to achieve and hit the pinnacle of success, 9 times out of 10, your woman is going to choose herself and burn it all down and embarrass you, just if she just don't feel like it. It's just the hell with it. The hell with her, the hell with you, the hell with them kids, the hell with everybody. And that's what I took away from this.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap up. April Chapman, thank you. Everybody, that was April Chapman. She has her own channel. It is entitled April Chapman. April Chapman. This video is below in the description box. But okay, so for those, you're looking to demonize Michelle Obama. That was not the goal of this, but I thought she's making news. She's leaving an impression. I don't know if it's the one that she wants to leave, but she's certainly leaving an impression, and it's not a positive one. And so, as April just said, she has a huge following. She's setting an example, and a lot of ladies are going to follow that, particularly ladies of color, Black women. They're going to follow that example. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Let me end with George Fraser one more time. Okay. Is this helping or hurting this thing that George Fraser is concerned about?
Seven 71% of our sisters are not married. 29% will never get married. 63% of our brothers are not married. 30% of them will never get married. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full human potential without family at the center of their culture. This only exists. This is an interesting but negative statistic. This phenomenon of the existential crisis of our family only exists among African American Black people. It does not exist on the continent or anywhere else in the diaspora. So there must be something in the water. We must fix this. It is a lot easier said than done because it is impacting our wealth. Quick statistics. For 350 years, household median income was dominated by white people. They were number one in this country. They no longer are number one, they're number three. And there's a reason for it. So who has the highest household median wealth in America? It's East Indians, $104,000 a year. What's the marriage rate in the East Indian culture? 94%. Two are working. Who's number two? Chinese Asians. Household median income, $110,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. Number three are white people. Household median income, $88,000 a year. What's the marriage rate? Almost 50%. Down significantly. Number four are Hispanics. Household median income, $61,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. We are at the bottom. Household median income, $55,000 a year. Marriage rate, 34%. And projected based on facts and statistics that if we do not fix this, because white folks ain't fixing this, our marriage rate will be in the low teens in the next 20 years. We must, this is an enormous challenge. That's a whole talk by itself on how do we fix it. It can be fixed, but we have to, first of all, understand that this is a problem. No one's talking about this problem. This is a huge problem. It's the number one problem in our culture. So we must fix it. Oh.
That's all, folks. Okay, AB Media, he's live talking about Van Jones. Van Jones interviewing those Black Trump supporters. All right, folks. That's all, folks. All right. So yeah, so one parting shot here, one parting word. I was texting with an acquaintance. Shout out to my dad, an acquaintance yesterday, and she told me, yeah, I think she just went to go see Michelle live. And I joked and said, well, did she disparage Barack, while this was going on? She said, men never even came up during the event. And I said, yeah, well, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Anyway, let's see. I'll read a few comments here. Michael Ross says, and they had some BS rumor going around talking about something her something with her mother. I suspect that was BS. The fact that she made a podcast instead of some other endeavor leads one to believe she will eventually share more damaging personal info. Well, let's see. Abdul says feminism is the religion of Black women. She just said it all. You ain't gonna find it, young men. SYSBM. Sorry. Worry about yourselves. That's an acronym for Save Yourselves, Black Man. Alonzo says Abdul, correction. Womenism is the religion. Okay. Yeah. So womanism is an exclusively Black female offshoot of feminism because I think let me pronounce my words. Womanism is a Black female offshoot of feminism because I think there came a moment where they said, okay, well, this traditional feminism is not working for us. We're not getting anything from it. Okay, so be aware that there is a thing called womanism. Passport OG says she's spitting. Let's see, Gundam Nataku 00, message her loud and clear. Chaos Rain says she's saying some fact. Where you find her, Dr. Dunbar? Hey, Chaos Rain, there are a lot of channels on YouTube. There are a lot of channels. So the algorithm, if you look, it'll send you stuff. T Riddler says, how will it be fixed? T Riddler, I don't know that it all will. Dr. T.S.on Johnson said that when he was here a couple weeks ago, he said there doesn't appear to be an interest on both sides to fix it. So if both sides don't want to fix it, and you're gonna get this scorched earth thing. And then finally he says, okay, what's he saying here? Doc, we need you to do your part and heal the Black community equals marriage and children. Hey, T Riddler. Well, I can't have Abby Phillip. So that one's out. That one's out. All right, everybody. I gotta go. I went 30 minutes over, but that's just a look at what's going on with former First Lady Michelle Obama. She's still making waves. I don't know if they are the waves that she wants to make, but it's she is leaving an impression. So with that, yeah, if anyone wants my book, the links are below in the description box. The hardcover, I'm selling this here for 20 for you guys, 25, and the paperback for 22. Just use one of those payment methods there, and make sure you send me your mailing address. Abdul Gain says, T Riddler, it's over. Abdul Gain says, Black men want to be married or in a long-term relationship at a competitive percentage. It is for Black women to solve. Okay. Can you drop her YouTube channel, Dr. Dunbar? T Riddler, the link to that video is in the description. I'm sorry, Chaos Rain. Chaos Rain. The link to that video is in the description box below. So just look below in the description box and you'll see it. That video was called Michelle Obama is the face of modern feminism. Here's the truth. All right, everybody. Have a good night. I'll talk to you the next time. If you haven't, please smash that like button. And also, if you're new, like this gentleman here, there was a new guy here, but I don't see him anymore. Oh, Christopher the Conqueror. Yeah, if you're new, please consider subscribing. And if you are also from the outside and this makes you clutch your pearls, this was not to disparage Michelle. This was to give commentary and coverage on just the entire zeitgeist of how people are looking at this. Not everybody is looking at this and saying, yay, keep going, Michelle, keep going. Some people are saying, why are you talking about that? Why are you saying that? You need to stop. Anyhow, everybody, as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you all the next time. Bye-bye, and have a good night.